Kinshade Stories family, what I'm about to tell you has been sitting with me since Tuesday, and I haven't been able to shake it. She walked into my office at 2:30 in the afternoon, and before she even sat down, she put a manila envelope on my desk. She didn't say anything, she just pushed it toward me. I looked at her. Her face was completely blank. Not calm, blank. There's a difference. Calm means something has settled. Blank means something has broken. I opened the envelope. Inside were printed bank statements, not hers, her mother's. 43 years of deposits going back to 1981, and there, highlighted in yellow, were a series of wire transfers, monthly, consistent, starting the month her daughter was born, sent from an account that belonged to a man her mother had always told her was dead. Not missing, not estranged, dead. She had a death certificate. She had attended a funeral. She had grown up visiting a grave. And that grave, it turned out, had someone else entirely in it. Before I go any further, I want to say this clearly. Every situation is different, and every family carries its own history in ways that outsiders, including therapists, can't fully see from the outside. Nothing I share here should be taken as a universal truth about how families work or how betrayal operates. If anything in today's story connects to your own life, please speak to a qualified professional. A story like this deserves more than comments and opinions. It deserves real support. Her name was Denise. She came to me from Columbus, Ohio. She was 46 years old at the time of our first session. She'd been married for 18 years to a man named Gerald, steady guy, worked in logistics, coached their son's baseball team on weekends. By every external measure, Denise had what most people would call a good life. She worked as an office manager for a dental group, she owned a home, she took care of her elderly mother who lived about 20 minutes away in a senior apartment. Denise described herself during intake as a person who handles things. That phrase stood out to me. Not someone who copes, not someone who manages, someone who handles things. There's a kind of pride in that phrase, but also a kind of loneliness. She came to me originally for what she described as low-grade anxiety, nothing dramatic. She said she had trouble sleeping, had been snapping at Gerald more than usual, and felt, in her words, like something is coming that I can't see yet. That's actually a significant thing to say. Most people who feel that don't have words for it. Denise had words. She was intelligent and precise and used language carefully. I noted that in her file from the very first session. We spent the first several weeks on surface-level stress management, work pressures, balancing caregiving for her mother with her own household, normal midlife load. She responded well to the work. Her sleep improved. She said the edge was coming off. I thought we were making steady, if unremarkable, progress. Then her mother had a stroke. It was a mild one. Her mother survived and was discharged to a rehabilitation facility after about 10 days. But during those 10 days, while Denise was at the hospital managing everything, because that is what Denise does, she handles things, she had to go through her mother's apartment to retrieve documents for the medical team, insurance cards, Medicare information, a healthcare proxy that her mother had apparently completed years ago. She found all of that in a shoebox in the closet, but underneath those documents, there was a second envelope, sealed. Her name was written on the front in her mother's handwriting, not to be opened upon my death or anything like that, just Denise. She told me she stood there in her mother's closet for probably 10 minutes before she opened it. I asked her, "What were you feeling in those 10 minutes?" She said, "I knew. I don't know how, but I knew that whatever was in there was going to change things. I just didn't know how much." Inside the envelope was a letter, 3 pages long, handwritten, and a smaller sealed envelope inside that one. She read the letter first. I'm going to tell you what was in that letter, because Denise gave me permission to share her story if it helped other people. Those were her exact words when she brought up the idea. She said, "If this helps even one person not feel so completely alone, do it." The letter was from her mother, and it started as an apology, not an explanation, an apology. Her mother wrote that she had spent 46 years carrying a secret, that she had made a choice before Denise was born, that she had never stopped second-guessing, and that she was writing the letter because she was getting older, and she didn't want Denise to find out from a stranger after she was gone. Her father had not died before Denise was born. Her father had left. He had left her mother, who was unmarried, 22 years old and 3 months pregnant, and he had gone back to his wife, because he had a wife. He had been married the entire time. Her mother had never known that until the moment he told her it was over. Her mother had been so humiliated, so devastated that she had told everyone, her own parents, her friends, eventually Denise herself, that he had died in a car accident before Denise was born. She had constructed an entire story, a name, a date, a cause of death. She had even, at some point when Denise was around 7 years old, arranged for a grave marker to be placed in a cemetery 2 towns over. Denise had visited that grave with flowers on Father's Day until she was in her 20s. She sat across from me and said, "I put flowers on a stranger's grave. For years, I talked to someone who wasn't there. I grieved someone who wasn't dead." She went quiet after that, a long pause. I didn't rush it. Then she picked up the second envelope, the smaller one that had been inside the first, and she said, "This is the part that I don't know what to do with." That inner envelope contained a single index card. On it, her mother had written a full name, a phone number, and a city, and then one line beneath it. "He has been sending money every month since you were born. He knows about you. He has always known about you." I want you to sit with that for a moment. This man who had left her mother, who had gone back to his wife, who her mother had told Denise was dead, had been sending financial support every single month for 46 years. Her mother had been cashing those checks. She had never told Denise he existed, and he had never reached out directly, but he had kept sending money every month, without fail, for 46 years. Denise looked at me and said, "So who was I grieving? Who did I light candles for? Who did I miss?" I didn't have a clean answer for her. There isn't one. What I told her was that what she was experiencing in that moment had a name. It's called ambiguous loss. It's a term developed by a therapist named Pauline Boss, and it describes grief that doesn't have a clear object, loss that doesn't fit into the normal categories of someone being here or being gone. Denise had grieved a dead father her entire life. Now she was learning that the father she grieved had never existed, but that a real father, a living one, had existed the whole time and had been, in his own limited and complicated way, present. That's not a simple thing to process. That's not something you work through in a few sessions. Over the following weeks, the sessions got harder before they got easier. Denise oscillated, that's the clinical term, between grief and rage. One week, she would come in and cry for most of the hour. The next week, she would be cold and analytical, talking about the whole thing as if she were describing someone else's life. That's a very common protective response. When an emotional reality is too large to hold, the mind creates distance from it. It's not denial exactly. It's more like the brain says, "I will let you look at this, but I will not let you feel all of it at once." We did a lot of work around her relationship with her mother. This is where attachment theory became useful. Denise had always described her mother as her closest relationship. She had been the one to take care of her, to worry about her health, to spend holidays with her, to call every single day. And now she was sitting with the knowledge that this person, who she loved and trusted completely, had maintained a lie so comprehensive and so practiced that it had shaped the entire architecture of Denise's identity, who she thought she was, where she thought she came from, what she thought her origin story meant. I reminded her that her mother's love was real. The lie and the love were not mutually exclusive. Her mother made a decision out of shame and pain when she was 22 years old, and she had never found the courage to undo it. That doesn't make the lie acceptable. It also doesn't erase 46 years of genuine care. Both of those things were true at the same time, and Denise was going to have to learn to hold both without letting either cancel each other out. She said, "How am I supposed to look at her in that rehab facility and pretend I don't know?" I said, "You don't have to pretend, and you don't have to confront her today. You're allowed to take time." One of the things I see frequently in people who carry the "I handle things" identity is that they believe delay is weakness. Denise genuinely believed that not acting on information immediately meant she was failing somehow. Part of our work was helping her understand that sitting with something difficult, really sitting with it, not suppressing it, is itself an action. It's often the most important action you can take. She did eventually speak with her mother, not in the rehab facility, and not when her mother was still recovering. She waited until her mother was back home, until her mother was physically stable, and she went over on a Sunday afternoon in October. She told me afterward that her mother already knew. The moment Denise walked in and sat down without taking her coat off, her mother looked at her and said, "You found the envelope." The conversation lasted almost 3 hours. Denise didn't tell me everything that was said, and I didn't ask, but she told me 2 things that stayed with her. One was that her mother said she had never stopped feeling guilty, not for a single day. The other was that when Denise finally asked, why keep it going so long? Why never just tell her? Her mother said, "Because every time I was about to, I thought about how it would hurt you, and I convinced myself that keeping it from you was protecting you." Denise said to me, "She protected me right into a lie I lived for 46 years. There's a concept in psychology called benevolent deception, the idea that someone withholds a truth with the genuine intention of sparing another person pain. It's real. People do this, and it almost always causes more harm in the long run than the truth would have. Because the truth, no matter how painful, gives people agency. It lets them make real choices about their own lives. The lie, even a loving one, removes that agency entirely. Denise had never had the choice of knowing her father. That was made for her before she could speak. As for the man on the index card, Denise did not contact him. Not yet. As of our last session, she was still deciding. She said she wasn't ready to open that door. I told her she didn't have to be ready on any schedule but her own. The door was there. It would still be there in 6 months or a year or 5 years. Whatever she decided was hers to decide. What I explained to her was that curiosity and contact were 2 separate things. She could be curious about him, could look him up, could think about what she might want to say, could even write a letter she never sent without committing to anything. Giving herself permission to want information didn't mean she had to act on it. Separating the wanting from the doing gave her back some of the agency that had been taken from her. We also talked about Gerald, her husband. She had told him everything within a week of finding the envelope. She said he cried. She said she was surprised by that, surprised that he cried when she couldn't yet. I explained to her that sometimes the people closest to us feel our pain before we're able to access it ourselves. His tears were, in a sense, carrying something for her temporarily while she was still in shock. Gerald had been steady throughout. He hadn't tried to fix anything. He hadn't told her what to do. He had just stayed close and let her be wherever she was. I want to say this clearly. That is not a small thing. So many people in crisis don't have that. Denise did, and it made a measurable difference in how she was able to move through this. She's still in treatment. She's not done, but she is different than she was when she walked into my office with that manila envelope. She's less rigid. She cries more easily, which sounds like a bad thing, but in her case is actually progress. She laughs more too. She told me a few sessions ago that she's been thinking about planting a garden in the spring, a real one, not just a few pots on the porch. She said, "I want to grow something I actually chose." I thought that was one of the most honest things I'd heard in a long time. That's what I hold on to in this work. Not the crisis, not the reveal, not the devastation of a lie 46 years in the making. I hold on to the moment someone who has been living inside a story that wasn't theirs starts slowly and imperfectly to find their own. If this story resonated with you, if you've ever discovered that something you believed about your family, your past, or your own identity wasn't exactly what you were told, I want to hear from you, not because I have answers, but because you deserve to be heard. And sometimes the first step is saying it out loud, even to a screen. What would you do if you found out a foundational truth of your life had been quietly managed for you since before you were born? Leave your thoughts in the comments. I read them, every one. If today's story meant something to you, please like the video and subscribe to Kinshade Stories. It helps more people find the space, and this community is worth growing. I'll see you in the next one.